All right, so now that we have everything imported into Atom, let's start making our first projects. So who knows what language websites or web pages are written in?
HTML.
HTML, right? So what we're going to do is create our first HTML file. So I'm going to right-click my first project. And again, the way we got that was on our desktop, we created a GitHub folder. And then inside of that GitHub folder, there's another folder called My First Project or something like that. And then we imported it into Atom by saying File, Add Project Folder, and navigating to that. That's just for the video. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to make an HTML file. And the way we can do that inside Atom is by right-clicking your project folder and going to New File. And now just type in the name of the file that you want. So I'm going to call it, first page.html. Now, notice how all of my all the words in my file are lowercase, and instead of underscore, I use a hyphen. Now, that's very direct. So in programming, uppercase and lowercase is very important. It matters. So HTML files are by not tradition, by convention, lowercase. So every HTML file should be lowercase, and instead of it being underscored, it should be hyphenated. Why hyphenated? Well, because that's the way Google searches for files. I like it a lot more when they're undercased or underscored, but Google searches for HTML files or any file, and it uses a hyphen as a separating word. So if this was undercase, it would take first page as all like one word. So if you Google first, then this wouldn't pop up. But if it's first hyphen page and you Google the word first, then this would pop up. So that's why hyphenating HTML files is the way to go. So lowercase and hyphenated. So go ahead and hit enter, and there we go. We have our first HTML file. Now, what I'm about to show you, don't worry about copying it down. Don't type this out. Take your hands off your keyboards. I'm going to start typing, and you will just watch. Why? Because there's a shortcut for it. I'm basically going to do that, but I'm going to type it all out for you. Okay? So again, that's what I'm going to type out, but line by line. So the first thing is the doctype HTML. Again, don't worry about typing this because there's a boilerplate that does this all for you. So all this does is it says, hey, this file is HTML. If you couldn't tell from the file name and the file extension, this is an HTML file. It's just for the browser, say Google Chrome, to read it and say, hey, like get into HTML mode. The next thing we need is the HTML tag. So HTML works with opening and closing tags. So you always have one, for the most part, you always have one opening and one closing. Could anyone tell me what the difference is between the opening and closing tags?
It means start and end.
Yeah, start and end, exactly. And this / denotes the closing tag. So it's saying the HTML ends right here on line 3, or it ends on line 8. It's just for the browser to say, hey, like HTML starts here and ends here. So inside of the HTML tags, you need a head tag. And anyone know the other one?
Body.
Body, yeah. You need a head and a body tag. Why are you yelling at me? Title. Okay. So this little error message here is part of one of the packages that we installed. We installed HTML hint, linter HTML hint. So it's an HTML linter, meaning that if I mistype body, then it's going to say, hey, tag must be paired no start tag with body. Right? So that's all the linter does. It says, hey, like you have something that's not right. 9 times out of 10, it's a valid error, but sometimes it's just an annoying error. So, you guys are absolutely right. We have the head and we have the body. Who knows what goes in the head?
Title.
The title. How do you guys know that?
I got it a little bit.
Oh, nice. Awesome. So, if you don't want to type this out, T-I-T-L-E, and then like close T-I-T-L-E, like that gets annoying, right? Like you have to hit shift and then comma for the less than sign and the greater than sign, who cares? If you type in T-I-T-L-E and hit tab, boom, magic. What? Does that mean that I could do that with any tag? HTML? What? Head? What? Body? What? Magic, right? So just by hitting tab, it will auto-complete a closing tag for you.
In Atom?
In Atom, yeah. And that package is mostly just built into Atom, but there's something called Emmet. I don't know why it's called Emmet, but it just adds a ton of shortcuts. I'm just going to show you. This is an appetizer. Don't really pay attention to it, but check this out. So I'm going to make an unordered list with list item times 10, and inside of that I'm going to have paragraphs with some lorem text. What? What? All this code automatically generated because of Emmet. So we'll get into that later. Just fun stuff. I want to get you guys excited about learning this because I think it's the coolest thing in the world. So we have doctype HTML. We have HTML, the opening and closing tag. And then we have the head. And inside of that, as you guys said, goes the title. Now, what is the title? Where do you see the title?
In the top.
Yes. The title is this. See, Codewave/Atom Packages. Here, the title is Christoph Anderson, right? So whatever's on the tab, that's the title. So I'm just going to call it whatever, my first project. Hey. Now, how can we actually see what I'm doing, what I'm typing? Well, you can see it in the browser by going to that HTML file. So for me, I know it's on my desktop. In the GitHub folder, in my first project, you'll see your first page.html or whatever you decide to call it. And if you double click it, it'll open up in your default browser. And there you go. And you see my title is my first project, exclamation point. So right now we're already writing in HTML. For what? Okay. So, right, the title goes in the head. Does anyone know what else goes in the head? No.
Header.
The header? Not quite. You guys, I see where you guys are going, but the head is really just for imports. So so nothing that the user sees goes in the head at all. So the user will never really see any of, except for the title. But anything in the head does not go on the web page. So that's for when you want to do some styling, like some CSS.
Link.
Yeah, when you want to link things to, when you want to link your CSS files. So that goes in the head. Don't worry too much about it. We'll learn more about it tomorrow. The body is really what we care about. So what goes in the body? Everything. Like everything goes in the body. Everything that the user sees, interacts with, that all goes in the body. So if I start typing, hello there, exclamation point, and refresh the page, we see hello there printed on the screen, default, Times New Roman font, right? Very boring. It's all the way to the left, all the way to the top, right? So now we're starting to get into more HTML. So let me put that back. So hello there, and then I'm going to say welcome to my site, all right, on a new line. Now, I highly recommend at this point to not type along, because chances are you're going to focus more on typing than listening, and then you won't have any questions, but then you'll have questions at home when you're going over it. So it's much better. So I did a little experiment with the last cohort. I made them close all their laptops when I was talking and just focus. And then at home, watch the video at like 1.25 speed, right? Because you could always watch the video and speed it up or pause it if you want to type something out. So they're doing that, and I've had better results with last cohorts than I've ever had with anyone because of that. Because even in my own experience in college, like I would furiously type out every letter the professor was typing, and then he was like, "Any questions?" I was like, "Oh, what was that last thing? Like I didn't get it." And he's like, "Oh, by the way, everything will be given to you. Like everything's on the curriculum page." I was like, "Oh, I just wasted time furiously typing all this out when he just gave it to me. Like, couldn't I just copy paste? Like, there's no point in like duplicating the work." So it's really better to just pay attention and kind of absorb what I have to say, and then you'll pick out all the like little quirks of programming. And I want you guys to ask questions all the time. Like I want you guys to be like, "Oh, why is that?" Like challenge me, like question me. So that's my experience. I'm not going to say close your laptops. You can follow along, but all of this, 100% of it, will be given to you. I already have a link for it, for where it's going to go in the on the curriculum page. Why don't we go through the curriculum page real quick? So my favorite quote in the world. Check out this web development mind map to connect the tools you hear about. So check this out. Some of you are going to get a real kick out of that. So web development is 100% different than what it was 4 years ago. 100%. It's evolved from just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to HTML, CSS. I'll just show you. So this is what it was before, right? So here we are, the web development area. What are these? Well, we're going to the basic front end for now. So you have your text editors. You have Atom, Sublime Text, Brackets. They all do the same thing, but I really like Atom, and it's made by the people at GitHub. Sublime Text, really, it was made by like one person, and it's kind of annoying to use, and it has an annoying pop-up like every 20 saves. Right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like unregistered purchase now. If you miss that pop-up, there's a package for it in Atom. So it can... Yeah. So then we have HTML and CSS, which we'll definitely get into. And then we'll get into the JavaScript fundamentals. JavaScript is weird and awesome, modular JavaScript, and jQuery. Now the reason... What?
Are they the same modular JS and JavaScript, or is it different?
It's different, like little ways. I think you could click this and... Oh, it's on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, so, but we'll get into all that. And then jQuery. Now, the reason why jQuery is yellow is because it's slowly being phased out by much better, larger libraries and frameworks. Like, who's heard of Angular? Okay, a few of you. Who knows who developed Angular? Google. Yeah. Google developed Angular. Who's heard of React? Who developed React? Facebook, right? So what exactly is it? Well, again, this is an appetizer. Writing for the front end, writing HTML is a pain in the butt. Like, no one really likes it that much, but when you mix it with JavaScript, it is just a world of fun. Like, it's an amazing experience. And so that's what React and Angular do. It just makes making a website so much better. The experience is better. The output is so much better. The only thing is you have to learn React and Angular. So if we keep going on to this basic front end, you get to the front end developer, which we'll just go top to bottom. So ES6, ES 2015, Babel, like what does this all mean? This just means that JavaScript has had a tune-up in the past year. So we'll go more into that when we get into JavaScript. I'll tell you the differences. But this just means the newest version of JavaScript, which is what I'll teach you. All right, CSS tools, we'll also get into these. So pre-compilers like Sass, definitely get into. Lots of fun, less stylish. And then we'll definitely be getting into Bootstrap in 4 days. And then responsive design with CSS. So these things, like, they didn't even matter before mobile phones. Like, you didn't care about responsive design because everyone just looked at the same thing on their like laptops or their desktops. Like, you never had to worry about a portrait phone, but now you do. Also, the purple things or the purple branches, those are ones that you shouldn't pay attention to that much. But we're going to be getting into Webpack when we're getting into React. Don't worry about that stuff. And then here we go. We have the JavaScript framework. So we have React, which includes all these other extra things. And then Angular, Ember, Vue, ClojureScript, and Elm. So then there's also unit testing. So web development went from this, like really it's just this, to this huge thing. So that's what's been going on in the past 4 years. Nothing is the same as it was. So there's a lot to learn. And I want to show you as much of it as possible. So we have to move fast. All right. So that's that. Read this if you're feeling discouraged about learning new technologies. I'll leave you to explore what that is. The in-class examples can be found here. So after every class, I'm going to upload them. I'm going to create a new folder called November 2016 and upload it. So if you just click on that, then you'll have every example, including all of this that I write today. So you don't have to type it all out. All right, next up we have each day. So day 1, HTML. I have a cheat sheet that I'll go over, the assignment, and then some notes that you should know, and then the most important questions that you really should know before coming in the next day. So by tomorrow, you should know what the necessary or needed tags for a working HTML file are, which really is HTML, like the doc type, head, body. Like, you don't need to memorize it, but you just need to know kind of like what they do for the most part. And then what a div tag is and what it's for. We'll get into that. Then we have day 2, what we're doing, 3, 4, all the way up to day 14. Now, why does it stop at day 14? Because we might spend a little more time on Ajax and APIs. We might spend a little more time here and there. So it's not hard set dates, but definitely we want to push to get to React. Then these bonuses are just some of the things, if we have extra time and someone wants to learn about them, then I could teach these things. And then here are some web design trends from 2016. So full width images, videos, and cinemagraphs. Like if you go to Airbnb. We get, oh, did they change it? Oh, they did. Before, there's like a big video across the entire page. Lyft. Check out Lyft. Hey, there we go. Like a big image across the entire page. Who knows what a cinemagraph is? A cinemagraph is a GIF with only a little part that's moving. For instance, something like that, which is really cool, right? It's just on loop. It adds like a little bit of movement, makes it pretty cool. Things like that. Split screen layout, so like just split down the middle or horizontally. Monochromatic colors with vibrant elements, so dark backgrounds with vibrant elements, so like dark gray with lime green, like that's very popular. Sticky calls to action. Again, we'll go over this later, but like as you scroll, this like social media tab would stay here, saying like join us on Facebook, and no matter where you go, it's still there. Then same thing, sticky column, call to action. Yeah, kind of the same thing, but this is more of a horizontal bar. And that, I don't know, some things to always keep in mind. When you're making your site or thinking about it, you always want to think about what is your target audience. So their age, sex, location, income, education, occupation. Who are you targeting? So why do people visit your website? For entertainment, necessity, work, information. Does your site make sense? Are there things in appropriate places? Are pages linked correctly? Here are some awesome resources. So if you want some free icons, then this will take you to the Noun project, which I highly recommend for cool icons. So say you want to make a boating app, then type in boat. And then here you go. You can make your app have that icon. I say free because you have to credit the designer, or you could just buy it for like $4 or something. Icons make a world of difference. Free high-resolution images and free high-resolution textures and backgrounds if you want. Again, you could just search for them. Like, let's search for boat. And there you go. You got free, royalty-free, so you don't have to say like, hey, I got this from this guy. You just use it. Very good quality pictures. Wireframe tools, we'll get into that later. Templates later, and that stuff later. And then at the end of this course, we should add each other on LinkedIn and endorse each other for all of these things. Good times. So we're going to go into HTML, CSS, Sass, Bootstrap, JavaScript, React, jQuery, Ajax, JSON, web development, and GitHub. All right, so that's really it for the curriculum page. Any questions? Yeah.
So for after the last day, are we gonna are you help us like find jobs, or you guys?
James is in charge of all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll ask him about that. But yeah, there is job assistance.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool. Anything else? All right. So let's get on with our first project. All right. So here I wrote hello there and then welcome to my site. Yet it's not displaying on separate lines. Why is that? Well, that's because HTML doesn't care about white space. You could have as many spaces as you want, and it will still display side by side. Does anyone know how to make it on the next line?
Make line.
Yeah, both of those are completely valid. The easiest thing to do is add a BR tag, which stands for break, and now they are on separate lines. So what if I add another BR? Will it be on like the line after that? You betcha. What if I add a whole bunch of them? Well, that's when it will render the breaks. So HTML works with tags, right? Am I just pulling this BR tag out of thin air? No, I'm not. You can check out this HTML cheat sheet from day one. Let's go ahead and check it out real quick. I'm a huge fan of cheat sheets, especially when you're learning something for the first time. Like I always say, I don't care, show me the cheat sheet and I'll learn it. So here we have an HTML5 cheat sheet. If you didn't know, HTML5 is the current version of HTML since like 2003, something like that. But it just shows you every available HTML tag and what it does. So here, going from the top left, this defines a comment. So what is this funky thing? So a comment, I'm just going to show you. This is a comment. It will not display on the screen. So a comment is a comment for the developers. Now notice if I refresh my page, then nothing happens. You don't see my comment. It's for the developer. It's say I'm working with Mariah Carey on a project and I want her to do something. Like I want to leave a note for her, right? I could do like, hey Mariah, fix this.
Is there a shortcut for just for the arrows?
There is a shortcut for everything. So the shortcut to comment things out is Command / on a Mac, Control / on Windows. Why don't I come up with a list of shortcuts? So Command plus, what did I say? / to auto comment. There we go. So, yeah. So the way that commenting works is you can highlight things. Like it's not just one line. So say I want the comment to go over these 4 lines, then I could do it like that. So it doesn't just, you don't have to go like line by line commenting all of these out. No, you could comment everything out at once. And of course that will break everything. Ooh. There you go. Cool. A very useful trick. All right. Good question. Now, that was the break tag, which will create a line break. But the other thing I heard was a paragraph tag. So let's say, let's put these together. Oh, that command was there we go. So on a Mac, Command and Control, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is on a Windows, but if you hold down Command and Control and move up and down, then you can move lines up and down as you want. Or you highlight a couple things and you can move them all as a block.
What's command?
Command Control. I hope that works. Does that work?
At the same time?
Yeah.
Just put control and put arrow.
Yeah?
Control and arrow.
Oh, control and the arrow. Mhm. Nice, cool. Awesome. So we have the break tag, which will make a line break. We have the paragraph tag, which is just a P, and howdy. So now if I refresh, we got hello there and howdy. So let me make these a little bit more apparent. So line 1, break, line 2, line 3, inside P tags, line 4, outside P tags. And then we'll do line 2, after your tag.
What is P?
P stands for paragraph. I'll show you what it does right now before BR tag. There we go. So line 1 is before the break tag, line 2 is after the break tag, line 3 is inside the P tags, and line 4 is outside the P tags. Just to kind of see what the difference is between the break and the paragraph tags. So line 1 is before the break tag, line 2 is after the break tag. So notice there's no space in between them, right? There's no blank line in between line 1 and line 2. The break just says go on the very next line. Whereas the paragraph has a built-in line break before and after. So line 3 is inside the P tags. So there's a line break before and after, just as you would see in a normal paragraph. And then line 4 is outside the P tags. So the break has a line break right after it. It just says go on the next line, and the paragraph tag has a line break before and after. Don't worry too much about memorizing this stuff because we're going to be doing it a lot. There we go. All right. So what else do we have? So what I showed you before. Let me take all this real quick. Take it out. So this is what's known as a boilerplate. Why is it a boilerplate? Because it's just a beginning code that you absolutely need for any website. Now remember when I told you not to copy all this down because I was going to show you an easy way to do it? Well, if you type an exclamation point and hit tab, then it should autocomplete all of that for you with extra stuff. So the HTML tag, it might have this lang attribute. You don't need that. You don't need this. You don't need this. You don't need that. And then the title. So that's the very bare boilerplate. It might give you some extra stuff. Just leave it. With programming, there are 10 million ways to do the exact same thing. So this is the boilerplate. And where is it? Boom. Go. Tab. There we go. Okay, cool. So what do you put inside the paragraph tags? Well, paragraph text, right? So like if you wanted to write something about your website, like I was born and raised, yada, 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 right? So just some text. If you want gibberish text, you could type lorem and hit tab, and it'll automatically create gibberish text for you. Just fill in text, yeah. Say you don't want this much lorem text, you could type lorem 10, and then it'll give you 10 words. Or you could type lorem 10,000 million, and it'll give you that many words. So lorem 20, and there you go. So just gibberish text. So that's a paragraph tag. Let's say I wanted to create a header. Anyone know the tag for that? Not quite. We have the the head up there.
Let the font navigate.
Yeah. So to make a header, you have to give it what size? A heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So H1 is the biggest. So we'll just say, what do we call our site? Mariah Carey. Why not? So go here, refresh it. Boom, we got Mariah Carey in really big font. So that's just built into HTML. And notice that there's a line break after it, right? So Mariah Carey and then line break. So what if I put an H2, best singer of all time. And then there you go, it's a little bit smaller, all the way down to H6. Says Kanye. And there you go. So Mariah Carey, best singer of all time, says Kanye. So so that's the H1 or the header tags. Yeah, sure.
The certain word, just fill in with the gibberish, right?
Yeah.
So you are doing some kind of marketing projects and you don't know like a cool like a title. Is there any examples you can just use?
For a cool title?
Or
Or cool gibberish text?
not just a gibberish, actually something meaningful.
Oh, not that I know of. Everyone really just uses lorem. It's called lorem text. Like if you Google lorem text, then it's just gibberish text. Because when you're doing a mock-up, you don't really care what it says. I don't know. Maybe you could take something out of a book if you really wanted to.
So it's basically some kind of structure where it's putting spaces in between a random amount of words. So and then they throw periods in there, so it looks like sentences.
Actually, I think it's like a book or something. Like what is lorem ipsum? Yeah, pseudo Latin text used. Oh, yeah, it's just meant to look like text. That's it. Yeah, and for some reason they just went with it. But there's all kinds of lorem ipsums. Like there's bacon ipsum. I can't believe I'm like showing you guys this. But if you want a meteor lorem ipsum generator, say you want 5 paragraphs, all meat, start with bacon, give me bacon. Then there you go. You got bacon ipsum dolor. Like they have like tenderloin, like spare rib, like meaty stuff in there. They have like ipsum for everything. So yeah, just a thing.
Type bacon ipsum in the Adam would type.
Oh, I doubt it. Bacon ipsum. I don't know. Maybe there's a plugin for that or a package. But what you just saw, if you want to create any tag, like say I want to create a Christoph tag. Christoph, hit tab, boom! I got my opening and closing Christoph tag. I just invented my own tag. Does it do anything? No. But later on when we get to JavaScript, it will. It could do whatever I tell it to, which is really cool. So we got the header tags, we got the break tag, we got the paragraph tag. What else can we do? Why not go through this? So the syntax HTML, again, has opening tags and closing tags for the most part. Some of them don't have a closing tag because it doesn't make sense to have a closing tag. For instance, let's add an image. So how do you add an image in HTML? Well, if I were at home just wanting to learn web design, I would look up HTML, how to add image. So front-end web design is super easy to find answers to if you know how to search. From now on, if you're searching for anything, you have to put what language you're searching in and then your question. For instance, I put HTML, how to add image, right? If you're in JavaScript, then it would be JavaScript, how to add image, and you'll get some awesome result. So the 9 times out of 10, the first link is going to be to W3 Schools, which is an awesome place for learning and tinkering around. And here we have different image types, and we have this, which we've already seen. Hey, doc type HTML, HTML, closing HTML, the body. This doesn't need a head because it's not using it. And then we have an H2, and then an image. Very cool. So a lot of programming is also based around pattern matching. So if you can look at this and make sense of it, then you can use it, right? So what do we see here? Well, we see an angle bracket, IMG, and then a source equals something, alt equals something, and style equals something. So this IMG must mean that it's an image, right? What about this SRC? What's source, right? Yeah, so it makes sense. And then pick mountain.jpg. Oh, that must be where the image is or what the image is, right? Okay, this alt equals mountain view. Well, that is what gets displayed if the link to the image is broken. For instance, if they typed pickmountain.jp, then it wouldn't find the file and it would just display mountain view. I'll show you. And then what about this style thing over here? Style equals width of 304 pixels, height of 228 pixels. Yeah, just the size, right? Okay, cool. So what if why don't we try it ourselves? Oh, okay, so we got the mountain. What happens if I change that to JP and hit run? Hey, so it's a broken image, but it says mountain view. Okay, could that be from this? Oh, let's see. Maybe let's change it. Mountain view of cliff. Hit run. Mountain view. Okay, so the alt is just the text that displays if the link is broken. So let's put the G back. Okay, so we got the mountain. Let's change the height. We'll make it 400 pixels. Hey, okay. So that really is just the width and the height. So from that, you can kind of see how you can just put 2 and 2 together and play around with it. So now that we kind of know how to use it, let's grab a pic of Mariah Carey. Hey. View image. Now, when you're getting images, you want to make sure that there's nothing else on the screen, otherwise it won't work. For instance, if I took this URL, then it wouldn't work because there are other things on the screen. Really what you want to make sure is that it ends in a .jpg or PNG or GIF. Ooh. Let's get a GIF. GIF or GIF? Yeah, let's end that war now. There we go. I'm a GIF kind of guy. Alright, there we go. So, Mariah Carey, I'm just going to take this URL, right? It ends in Mariah Carey side I GIF, right? And that's from popcrush.com in their files folder, 2015. Maybe that's a month. So, copied that. I'm going to start typing in IMG. Magic. IMG should always have a source attribute, and it should always have an alternate attribute. So the source, what I'm going to do is just paste that in as is that I took from online, right? It ends in .gif, or it could end in IMG, or PNG, or JPEG. So many formats. So, refresh it. Hey! We got Mariah. Now, let's change the size. So we saw from that example that it uses a style attribute. These are called attributes, by the way, if you didn't know. What are attributes? Attributes are extra information about the tags. So for instance, this image tag has a source attribute. In JavaScript, these are called properties. For instance, everything has a property. Like my shirt has a color property of gray, right? Like this wall has a height property of like 11 feet, sort of thing. So everything has properties, including HTML tags. So this has a source property or attribute of this. So where do these come from? Where's this src and alt? How would I know to do that? Like, how many are there? Can I just invent properties? Like, can I just say like height equals like 20 pixels and do it like that? Well, not necessarily, but in that case it worked. Why? Because, let me show you, cheat sheets. Goodbye, Mariah. Boom. So let's go to the height attribute, or the image attribute. Here we go. So not only does it tell you what the image or what the tag is and what it does, so it defines an image, duh. It also tells you all of the available attributes that you could give it. So here you could give it an alt attribute, a source attribute, a height, isMap, useMap, and width. Really, in HTML, you'd only want to use the source and the alt attribute, and you would change the height and the width in CSS. Why? Because you want to separate your content, which is HTML, from your styling, which is CSS. So changing something's height and width, that's CSS, that's styling, that's modifying things. Hey, you want to give this image a border? That's CSS. Putting the image on the screen, that's HTML. So cheat sheets are the best way to go when you're learning something new. If you ever see a tag that you don't understand, just go here and check it out. Like, hey, what's this A tag? What is that? Oh, it defines a hyperlink. Like, you could give it an href lang, media, like all this stuff, but really you're 9.9 times out of 10, you're just going to use the href attribute. So defines a hyperlink. Hyperlink, is that the same thing as a link? Yeah, it is. So let's make a link to somewhere. Maybe right above it, let's say link to why Mariah? Whatever, I'm on that train. Link to Mariah's blog. I don't know if she has one, but we want this link to Mariah's blog, and if I click on it, I want it to take me there, right? And now we know that it's using the A tag, or the A tag. I'm gonna hit tab. What? Automatically creates the href attribute for me, because that's what anchors do. Like, anchors should have like what it's linking to, right? Like, there's no point of a link if it doesn't link anywhere. Like, same thing with an image, right? It automatically generates the source and the alt attributes for you, because an image should have a source. All right, so here we have, all right, so here we have this anchor tag. I don't know how to use it. I don't know. I'm just learning web development. How do I use it? So let's type in HTML again, because that's what language we're in. I'm just going to type in A. Let's see what we get. Hey, HTML A tag. Awesome. And if you didn't know, each of these are called tags. So the A tag, the image tag, don't really say img tag, body tag, HTML tag, and so on. So the anchor tag Let's see, maybe we could read a little bit about it. It defines a hyperlink, which is used to link from one page to another. An unvisited link is underlined in blue. If it's visited, it's purple. If it's active, it's red. Cool. Let's check it out. Let's see how it works. Let's pattern match, my favorite thing. So here we see the anchor tag with this reference. Okay, I don't see that on the screen anywhere. Ooh, but I see this. Visit w3schools.com, exclamation point. So that must be the text that's outputted. So what if I change that? Right meow. Let's try that. Hey, it worked. Okay. So that leads me to believe that any text that I put inside of the anchor tag is going to be the highlighted text. What if I put something after it? Let's see. W3 schools is the best. Okay, so it doesn't have a built-in line break, right? Like the paragraph tag or the BR tag. And it the closing anchor tag will stop the link, or it'll close it. Awesome. So let's use what we just learned on this. So anything I put in here will be the text that displays in blue. So I'm going to take that, plop that in there. So let's check it out, see what happens. There we go. Link to Mariah's blog. Click it. And it doesn't really go anywhere. It goes to that same page that you're on by default. So we'll just, why not, we'll link it to here. Oh, Mariah Carey's blog. Alright, I'm just going to take that. And I'm going to add it to the href, what is this called? Property? Attribute. You have to know that. Vocabulary, very important. So, attribute. What is an attribute for? Attributes are just extra data for a tag. Like this height attribute, source attribute, just extra data.
But is that the value of the link, like the value, like source, where to go, like height, what is it?
Exactly.
Link, where it is, like something.
Exactly. Yeah, there are key value pairs. So the href is the key, and then the value is whatever is in between the double quotation marks. Yeah. So the attribute, you write the attribute and then an equal sign and then in double quotation marks. If you write it in single quotation marks, well, the linter will yell at you and say the value of attribute href must be in double quotes. And again, here's that word attribute. So if I uninstalled that linter, the HTML linter, then you wouldn't get any error at all. So it's great when you're starting out to have a linter, because that way you could catch your mistakes as you make them. Now, please, please, please do not do something like this. Break. There we go. Okay. So please don't do something like this and say everything's okay. Nothing is okay about this. If you have a whole bunch of errors, stop, figure out the error, correct it before you go any further. Otherwise, you're just going to have so much more. So whenever you see red dots, it'll help you though. It says, hey, tag must be paired, missing closing H6. Okay, so I'll go to wherever I have an H6. Hey, close H6. Awesome. Okay, what's this? The value of attribute, laugh out loud, must be in double quotes. All right, let's say I didn't need that. Awesome, got rid of that. What is this yelling at me for? Special characters must be escaped. All right, that looks right. Oh, I'm missing a double quote here. Okay, there we go. What else? Bod must be paired, no start tag bod. I'm not looking for a bod. Oh, I want a body. Okay, awesome. Looks good. No errors, no red. That's really what you want. Another thing that I'm going to show you. So to auto indent, I think it's Control-Shift-I on a Windows. But what is auto indent? Let's say I have this ugly mess of code. So terrible. If you leave your HTML like this, you will be questioned by your employer so quickly. More so by your colleagues because they have to put up with it. So this is very poorly indented code. Oh, so one of the other packages I had you guys install was the wrong button. There we go. Indent Guide Improved, which displays indentation lines, which is just all these lines. If you don't like them, then you can just turn that off. And then the auto indent, press Control-Shift-I on Windows to auto indent the page. So if I hit Command-Shift-I, what? Beautiful. Didn't have to do a thing. Again, before, after. Very awesome package. It'll make your life so much easier. All right. So, yeah.
How did you get the indents to indent?
Oh, I just hit tab a bunch of times. Yeah. Yeah. So if you find yourself doing that, then you could just hit Command-Shift-I and it'll automatically indent everything. Automatically to its liking. It's not always the best, but it's pretty darn good. It's really good for HTML. With JavaScript, it's a little funky sometimes.
Can you do that with other editors?
I'm sure. No, like everything can do that. Yeah. I think in Sublime Text it's called Beautify. But yeah. All right. Cool. Fun stuff. All right. So images, links. So here we created this link. Let's check it out real quick. Document. Hey, link to Mariah's blog. Let's check it out. Hey, did I refresh it? There we go. Now it's taking me to mariahcareydaily.tumblr.com. So awesome, we got a link going. This is great. What else? Questions? Awesome. Oh, definitely. Very good question. So what if we wanted the user to click on the GIF and then that would link to the blog? It wouldn't be the most intuitive, but we could do anything. In web, you could do anything. So any guesses on how to do that?
Put A on the GIF.
Exactly. It's pattern matching, right? So the anchor tag, how it works is you tell it where to start the link and where to end the link. So if we what if we do that and say, let's say we forgot to close the anchor tag. Oh, everything becomes a link. So I could tell it where to stop. Let's say I wanted to stop here, and then we wanted to put this link to Mariah's blog on top of it, and I'll auto indent. There we go. Right? I'll make the height a little bit bigger. I'll do 100. So here what I did is I just surrounded that GIF with the anchor tag. So I'll refresh it, and notice when I hover over it, now it's the hand. Before it wasn't. Let's do that. Notice it's just a cursor, but links by default, they turn the cursor into a pointer. So there we go. So if I click on it, then we go to Mariah's Tumblr page. Awesome. Awesome question. See, I love things like that. Like when you're creative, you're like, is that possible? Like, how do you do it? It's very cool.
But what if I want a new window,
A new tab? Great. You guys are awesome. So that's very great that you notice that. So if I click on it right now, it opens in the same exact window, right? What if I don't want people to go away from my page? Well, you can, let's just look it up. Let's say hey, HTML, right? That's what we're working with. How would you search for it? Like how to open link in
window.
Yeah, open link in new window. Perfect. Open link in new tab or new window. New window. Why not? So, oh hey look, W3 schools as always. Huh. So href, we've seen that. Oh, what is this? Target equals underscore blank. I don't know. Let's try it out. So visit W3 schools. Hey, it worked. So it must mean that this target attribute had something to do with it opening in a new tab. So target equals underscore blank. Let's just take that, copy it, and let's put that in there. And let's see if Mariah Carey opens up in a new window. So boom, hey, it worked. So we have our project and then Mariah Carey's Tumblr right there.
Did you do that before or after the alternate?
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So I always wondered about that too. Like the order of properties. I don't think there's a HTML how to order attributes. Oh, the input tag. You can use any sequence. Yeah. Yeah, this is what I like to do. So, really, there's no order of attributes. Why? Because in the real world, there's no order of attributes. Like this wall has an attribute of white. Should that attribute come before its height? Or, you know what I mean? There's really no order to properties of things. So HTML, oh, it's kind of interesting. It's pretty profound. That programming comes from everything in the world, like anything worldly that we experience. Why? Because that's all we know, right? So, who's heard of object-oriented programming? Like OOP? A little bit. So we're going to dive deeper into it, but object-oriented programming is exactly like that. You create like a wall object, or in computer lingo, you'd create something like a post, like a tweet object. And a tweet has what kinds of properties? A tweet has like an ID, a user, the message, right? So that is an object, and objects have properties. So everything really just comes from the real world, which is really interesting. Now's my time to say, I'm getting goosebumps because this is so fun. So I want you guys to always question why. Like, why is it called why is it an A tag? Anyone know? It's an anchor. It's an anchor to another web page. They then what about the link tag? Is that something? Well, there is a link tag. So maybe they come up with the link tag before the anchor tag and they're like, hey, we don't want to switch it, we'll just call it anchor, right? Like, question why. I guarantee if you question why about programming, you will understand it like no other. Why? Because you'll see why they did things certain ways. Yeah. Why? Yeah, graphics interchange format. Yeah, or why like JPEG. Everything has a meaning. Everything. Like this target equals underscore blank. I don't know what the underscore is for, but hey, you can look into it. Like, What's his target? Is blank the only thing I could have? Hey, why don't we check it out? So I would type in HTML a target. So HTML a target. A target attribute. This is really complicated. So blank, let's see what our options are. Self, parent, top, frame name. So what is all that? In a new tab, a new window or tab, in the same frame as it was clicked. This is default, awesome. So parent, in the parent frame, whatever that is, opens a link document in the full body. Like, you could play around with it. Like, be thinking about what are your limits. Again, like, is href and target, are those two the only attributes you can give to an anchor tag? Definitely not. You could give it a type, a relation, or like, yeah, rel for relation, I'm assuming. Ping, media, href lang, like, what are those? Really, you don't, like, have to know what they do. For the most part, you're just going to like be working on some project, and then you could be like, oh, I came across this ping attribute for an anchor tag, and I learned about it. Cool. So always ask why. It's so helpful. Like img, image. Right? It just makes so much more sense. All right. So div hr. We'll go with hr. So who knows what the HR tag is? Her. So let's check it out. It's right before shortcuts. Ooh, anyone see it? Mm-hmm. This horizontal line. Why HR? Why not HL for horizontal line? R is for rule, horizontal rule. Like think of a horizontal ruler. I don't know. So that's the HR. Let's say you wanted to customize it. You wanted to make it like black. Well, you could do that with CSS. I'll show you that tomorrow. So that's the HR tag. Right now, I'm just kind of going through the most common tags. Commonly used tag. Ooh. Who knows how to make something bold? Who knows the bold tag? Yeah, you would put it in CSS. But in HTML, how would you do it? Just be bold. So the old school way to do it is with the B tag. So let's say I just wanted to make that bold. But you're right, you really would do this. This is like on the verge. So let's say I put this consecutor stuff in the B tag. Let's see what it did. So it's bold. Awesome. What if I used strong around this, ending at Harum? So ending at elite and Harum. Elite, Harum. They're both bold. What's the difference? Well, I didn't know until I looked it up. I was like, what? They do the exact same thing. Not really. You never want to use a B tag because the B tag isn't interpreted by screen readers. Screen readers meaning for people who are visually impaired or people who are blind and they can't see a web page, they have screen readers that will read it to them. So audibly, it'll go through and I don't know how it would try and pronounce this, but when it gets to the B tag, it would not add any emphasis at all. It would just like a normal tone say it, and then when it gets to this, it would be like Ratwan Dalenti Harum, and like keep going normally. So the only difference is with the screen reader, that the strong will add like a strong emphasis, and the B tag won't. So it depends on if you don't want the screen reader to read it with a little bit of emphasis, and just use a B tag. Got that? It's not the most important thing in the world, but it's subtle differences. All right, let's say I had lorem 20 again. And what about italics? Anyone know the tag for italics? I, right? But yet again, that's the old school way to do it. And I'll do that. And hey, yep, you get italics. Anyone know the new school way to do it? It's EM. EM stands for, any guesses? Emphasis, yeah, exactly. So italics, or B, strong, I, M. Emphasis, exactly. So the same thing, it would add emphasis in the screen reader with the EM.
The difference between HTML4 and HTML5?
Like new tags, really. Like you can't program in just HTML5. Like HTML4 like evolved into HTML5. Like they're just new tags. Stuff got deprecated or like outdated. But when HTML5 release date? I don't even know. 2000, what? No way. All right, 2014. Yeah, this, I'm guessing, will show you all the differences. Oh. But yeah, you don't really have to worry about it. You don't have to search for things like HTML5, CSS. Who knows what version of CSS we're currently in? Like the world. CSS 3 is the newest. These things you don't really have to pay attention to because like the whole world is like awesome, like HTML5 is out, like let's all update it once. This is a one thing where the whole world is like, yeah, update. But yeah. So it's just new tags and it's always so much better. It's like like they take years to develop. So once it finally comes out, everyone's like gung ho, like finally. Cool. Because the people who develop it, like they don't make a profit. Like, right? Like someone who develops the EM tag, like who pays them? I don't know. So so they take their sweet time. All right. Everyone understand what attributes are? Attributes are just extra data, like extra properties for, like, say, an anchor tag, right? We have an href, a target attribute, height, and so on. So, cool. Strong image input. So, let's say I wanted a user to input their name. Here, we'll do it right after Kanye. So, if I didn't know, then how would you search for it? Maybe HTML, like text box, input box. Hey, HTML input tag. Hey, what do you know? W3 schools, awesome. So, there's this form tag with an action attribute. What? That's too complicated. Let's just try it. Hey, cool, I like that. Where's that coming from? Hey, this right here. An image, or an input tag. Okay, cool. So, input. Got it. Input. So, input. Hit tab. Hey, input type of text. Let's see what that looks like. Hey, cool. We got some stuff. Hit enter, nothing happens. Why? Because we never told it to do anything. What other kinds of input are there? Input type of radio? Hey, I got a radio button. What about an input? Input with a type of checkbox. Hey, I got a checkbox, a radio button, and a little input box. Very cool. What else is there? Let's look it up. HTML input types, right? Because we're working with the type attribute. Hey, what do you know? W3 schools. Value of button. Okay. Check that out. We'll put it after the text. So input with a type of button. Hey, we have a button there that we could click. Can't really do anything. Remember when I said that there's an opening tag and a closing tag for every HTML element, except for some things? Well, the image tag doesn't need a closing image tag because you don't really like start here and stop here. It kind of defines it itself in the image. The same thing with input things, right? You might see it like this, which is a very good habit to get into because React cannot render if you don't have that. It will throw like a crazy error. I don't know why, but React, I don't know, must not be advanced enough to be able to figure that out. There must be a reason. It's Facebook. They have some brilliant reason why. But you should get in the habit of always having the / in there. All right, so we have the button. How do we change that? Well, we could use the value attribute of click me. Check this out, refresh it, and now it says click me. Very cool, built-in button just for us. Is that the only way to make a button? No. You could use the button tag. That has a closing thing. Click me too. Hey, now we have 2 buttons built in for us. So we'll get into forms later, more in depth, when we could actually use them, because right now it's not too fun to like make these buttons that don't do anything. But it's fun for placeholders for now. So there's radio buttons, checkboxes. What else is there? Like the drop downs that you could click on. There are tons of things that we'll go into later on. There's password, which will just show up the dots. Color creates a color picker. What? Input with a type of color? You're kidding me. Creates a color picker? What? No. What? Like, I didn't have to build this. This comes built in. Is it HTML5? Oh yeah, HTML5, hey. So for the most part, like new updates just add more and more stuff. So they added the color picker, like all these fun inputs, range, and so on. So really great and fun stuff. One last thing before we go. Let's say we wanted to section off our page, right? We want like a header, we want a footer, we want like a sidebar, we want some content over here, and so on, right? Now, how would you organize your code in a way that allows for things like that? Well, that's the same thing that the developers of HTML faced. They said, hey, how do we like group these things together, right? Because right now it's just one big vomit of like code, right? It looks disgusting. Who knows like what's what? Yeah, you could comment it out, being like this is the header, and then boom, and then here like this is whatever, form area, right? That's kind of better. But there's also another tag called the div tag. Boom, boop. There we go. Form area, div. Boom. So you put them in divs. Div stands for divider or division. I always forget. Defines a section in a document. That's it. All it does is say, hey, this part does this. Like, you define it later. Like, let's say I wanted to format this whole thing. Well, in CSS, I would target this div. I would give it a unique ID of, like, header sort of thing. So there are global attributes, which we'll get into tomorrow, like ID and class, but again, for tomorrow. So then in my CSS, I could target a div with an ID of header, change the background color, change the font, right? Because the way CSS works is you target something, you say what property you want to change, like say the font size, and then the value you want to change it to. So for instance, this I would like let's do some like pseudo CSS. CSS. I would target a div with ID of header. Oops, right? Then I would like target its text height property, then change it to like 20 pixels sort of thing, right? So it's the like what you want to change, the property you want to change, and the value you want to change it to. Again, this is just for tomorrow, but just keep that in mind. Now, a lot of times programming works in weird ways, especially when you're learning it. I'm going to say a lot of things. It's not going to make sense at first, but I'm going to say things over and over again. And if it's important enough, your brain will pick up on it. And then while you're sleeping, you'll be like, oh, I get it. Like, when you're going to bed, I want you guys to kind of be thinking about code a little bit and then have your brain like working on it. Like right now is the best time because you guys all should be like a little bit tired. You guys should be like, come on, shut up, Christoph. I just want to go home. It's past 9:30. But I want you guys to kind of think about it. Like think about the different tags, like the image tag, like what tag is for a link. Like what's a div? What's a div's like? What is it for? Oh yeah, he was telling me the story about like dividing a web page into sections, and then like, hey, we have a header, and then this div is for like the forum, and so on. So I kind of want your brains to be working on it, and let your brain work on it. Like just think about random tags and what they're for, and your brain will do the rest. Your subconscious is very powerful. Awesome. So with that said, any questions about tags? All right, not yet. All right, cool. So let's check out the assignment real quick. So I highly, oh wow, it's caps. So I highly recommend Codecademy and Solo Learn. Who's heard of Codecademy? Yeah, awesome. So it's Codecademy, not Code Academy. Yeah, they took out the A. Yeah, right? That's what I said. So Codecademy and Solo Learn. If what I teach you is not enough, definitely go through Codecademy's HTML and CSS course. You will learn so much at your own pace, very slowly. It's a great place to start, and then it's great because if you have any questions, you could ask me. Like that's what's so great. That's why people come to this, because they're like, oh yeah, I've done Codecademy, I've done this, I've done that, I've watched YouTube videos, I've tried to learn, but they can't. They have no like guidance. They have no one saying like, hey, learn this, do this. This is what everyone wants, right? So do this. Do the HTML basics crash course. You will learn so much from it. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext means text with links in it. Like, it'll go so in depth, so slowly, you'll just fall asleep reading it. So here, always put doctype HTML on the first line. This tells the browser what language it's reading, in this case HTML, right? So everything I just said, like, you may not have believed, but Codecademy has been around for a while, so maybe you'll believe them and you'll be like, oh, Christoph is right. And then, yeah.
Have you heard of something called Free Code Camp?
Free Code Camp?
That's way better than Codecademy. Some another level.
Yeah?
Yeah, check that one out. I saw that.
All right, everyone do that one too. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, like goes up the line.
Yeah?
That means it better
Yeah, I learned a lot. I was in Codecademy for like almost half a year, then Free Code Camp I learned in like days. They're
What?
way more efficient.
All right. So,
Okay.
all right. You know what? I'd almost rather have you guys do that than the actual assignment. I should scratch the assignment. So,
Do both.
or do,
Practice. No sleep.
yeah, no, till Brooklyn.
Welcome to being a coder.
Yeah, right.
Programmer.
So I'll add that in there. Free code camp.
Yeah, it's amazing, and they have a Slack account too.
Oh, that's awesome. So you could message people. Yeah. So Slack, like I said, is everywhere. Like every company uses Slack for messaging. It's so neat. And that's why I had you guys download it, because you're probably just going to end up downloading it in the future anyway. So I guess Free Code Camp has a Slack account, and you can message people if you have any questions, which is awesome. Or Codecademy or Solo Learn. Highly recommend it. It'll be fun if like everyone tries like one of them, and then like gives us their 2 cents. As far as this stuff goes, yeah, I'd kind of much rather just have you guys like tinker around in in Codecademy and Solo Learn. Try to do both, but yeah, spend your time doing like as much as you can, especially in the beginning. Try and learn what's right for you. Like, see if Codecademy is really good. These are all supplemental things. Like, I will teach you everything that this stuff teaches, like Codecademy and Free Code Camp. But they just kind of go through it like very slowly. They walk you through it. Whereas I, like what I did with the last cohort, I made them do Codecademy for React because there just wasn't enough time, and it was so great because in here I will teach you everything and you will kind of get it, and then you will go to Codecademy or Free Code Camp and you will just solidify your understanding, because sometimes the way I say things you might not get, and it's always helpful to hear things in like 4 different ways, especially with code. Code is really complicated, it's complex, and the more ways you hear it, the more you'll get an understanding for things. Like right now, like attributes, like, oh, what is that? Like, how do they work? Like, that might not be so clear, but after like working with them and going through the exercises, then you'll start to get it. Clear? So, and also it would help, I think it would help more if you go through like Codecademy up until what we went through, so like the HTML tags and stuff, and then do the assignment. Because I guarantee you they will go through like every tag that I just went over. Awesome. Questions? All right. Well, if you have any questions, message me on Slack. I'm around like all day and night. I'm always at my laptop because this is what I do. So like I see a message, I reply right away. Awesome. And I'll upload the videos, I'll send the links, I'll put them on Slack. Anything else before we adjourn?
Slack actually have an app, or is that more like online?
What, Slack?
Yeah.
Oh no, there's an app for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And who wants to learn mobile apps, mobile app development? Yeah? Awesome. So do I. So, who's heard of React Native? Okay, awesome. React Native is this awesome new technology where you write something in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it will work. It could be an Android or an iOS app using React. So you can't use React Native unless you know React. So if we want to get to the point where we're making mobile apps, then we need to like pull our weight and study and learn all this stuff, and then we'll get to like mobile apps and React and frameworks and libraries that will really make you employable. because front-end web development is nothing like it used to be. It's all like programming, really. So you guys have your work cut out for you. But I'm here. Like I said, message me anytime. I have people from like months ago messaging me for help. So, all right, cool. If there are no more questions, then meeting adjourned.